All right, I am here at Occupy Austin with Joey from Occupy Wall Street.
Thanks, Bubba.
You're welcome. Joey, when did you become a member of the Occupy Wall Street movement?
I moved to New York City on August 14th, and the first thing I saw when I got off the subway in Bushwick was OccupyWallStreet.org on just spray painted, scrawled on a building. I thought that sounded like a great idea, so I went to the website and saw there were some events planned before the occupation started
About a month
properly.
before.
Yeah, and so I wrote down some of these events, and I was next to rock concerts and job interviews, and it wasn't really on my radar. And so I think the first time I went to the park was September 19th, September 20. And I was, I had some of the same criticisms that a lot of people had the first couple times I saw. It was like, there's too much attention on media and, overeducated, blah, blah, blah. But I was still into the idea of it, just thought I'd look and see what happened. I kept going back and just, within a few days, I was convinced that it was my movement. It wasn't something I wanted to be involved in. It's what I have been involved in for years.
Yeah, just now maybe other people have joined in.
Yeah.
How would you describe the situation in the United States?
The situation in the United States is, I'm going to see how few words I can put it in, because I'm sure I could put it in several thousand.
Yeah.
The situation in the United States, I think the main problem, and this is from 3 years of public school teaching experience, is cultural. I'm convinced that it's cultural. And so when I was a teacher and I was trying to, in 2 or 3 hours a week counteract messages that they were hearing for, 100 hours a week in front of the TV, it just wasn't working. And so I think fundamentally the United States is in a cultural crisis, and it affects our political dialogue. Of course it affects our political dialogue. So as an artist and an educator, I felt like I'm in a unique place to make real change, not just art as in, as a way to make protest more enjoyable or more high profile, but, using art in an active way to address and subvert our culture.
Yeah, I like the stuff at the Lincoln Center where I first saw you. How would you describe the Occupy movement?
I would describe it as, I use this as the number one description if I'm talking to someone who has a question, who maybe doesn't identify with the movement. First and foremost, you have to understand that we can't take it anymore. If that's the only message you get from this whole confusing thing, that's fine. And the fact that the Occupy movement is establishing a new world where we're addressing the problems that we all face, that's waking a lot of people up. For me, I travel in on tour. I go to all these funky little collectives and these little communes and these artist places where, I see that other world. I know there's that other world. For a lot of people, this is their first time seeing it.
Yeah, including myself. Are you a member of the Economic 99%?
Yes.
And do you want to just share anything about day-to-day life, anything, what it's like being in the 99% of America?
I'm from my grandfather was a farmer, my grandmother was a steel worker, and my grandmother she worked in a steel mill for 5 to 7 years, and my father's a union public school teacher, but somehow media has, it created an environment where I was raised very conservative, extremely conservative. Looking back, I as a child and a young teenager, I identified as a fascist, not knowing it.
Yeah. I think a lot of us here, you're not born with your eyes open.
Yeah. And so it's strange for me to talk to people from the 99% who identify with the 1%. But yeah, just being in the 99% and being educated is important, because otherwise you're really going to fall into the same excuses that are perpetuated in the media.
Yeah, a lot of complacency. How long do you plan on being a member or supporter of the Occupy movement?
Indefinitely. I've known from the beginning that this is going to be happening, and this is the revolution that I've dreamed of for years, and I've written about for years, and as an artist, I hoped for, and being cloistered in when I was living in Indianapolis, and reading radical literature and not being in contact with anyone, I just dreamed about the day there would be a march in the streets, and I would join them and be ready, and here it is.
And you got to be there in Wall Street where the big march is, and the big.
For sure, yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite experience or story you would like to share having to do with Occupy? Well, not necessarily your favorite, but a favorite, something that...
The Lincoln Center action was like something from a dream. The first one where there were 200 people barricaded outside of Lincoln Center, including Philip Glass, whose opera we were there to celebrate.
He would join you guys.
He joined us, read a statement, and that was beautiful. Other favorite experiences, November 17th was glorious, and it was huge, and I have such a low opinion of the media to begin with, and the fact that they botched that story, it was so beautiful, and they painted it out to be, some kind of, misguided riot. But N17 was, I'd have to say that was one of my favorites for sure. If I thought about it, I could probably come up with a lot of smaller, cuter little, I do a lot with Occupy Harlem, and dealing with Queen Mother is just fantastic.
I've read about her actually.
I love working with her, and since then I've instigated conversations about African reparations with hundreds of people who've never in their lives even seriously considered it.
Even know what it is, they say.
Yeah, so, and there's a little occupation up at, I was going to school in Purchase, New York. There's a little occupation there I was part of. I played some grindcore in Pittsburgh, marched to the, marched with Occupy Indianapolis, marched with Occupy Nashville, here I am in Austin, and yesterday got escorted from the state capitol by rangers who detained me and investigated me. So
that you and that violent are probably a severe threat to everything.
Apparently, yeah.
Do you have any message you could share with people that may not have heard of the Occupy movement or maybe listen for? I know you had your We're Fed Up.
Yeah, if that's it, if that's the only thing that you get from this, I can't stress enough that's the message that needs to come out, and everything after that. This is your movement, this is your occupation. Don't ask questions, don't ask permission. Come here and occupy. The time for cowardice is over. No more cowardice.
Let's wake up together, all of us.
That's right.
And my last question was going to be: do you have any message for your fellow Occupy members? Of course, I usually tell people across Texas, but you're a bit of a national occupier, so across the whole national movement or global movement.
Escalate. And for my fellow artists out there, the time has come for us to escalate the level of performance. I do a lot with the Occupy Museums group, and I do a lot with the Musicians Working Group, and we're very much on the ground, making things happen. Art as an everyday thing, art as a free thing. But the time has come where we have the artistry to make something more magnificent than any establishment could ever do. And in so many ways we already have, but for the artists out there, we need to escalate.
I saw a quote early on that somebody said, if you're an artist right now, your art should be exploding. And it's kind of stuck with you. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you, Bob.